The story begins when the hero leads his party to the final floor where the Demon King resides. Once they defeat the Demon King, humanity will be saved. Upon reaching the final floor, only to find out, the Demon King was in fact invincible. Although they had gathered all of the best equipment known to mankind, they couldn't even land a scratch on the Demon King. Our hero, Lin Xiao, who sought to be the beacon of hope and the strongest hunter to mankind, has the ability to death retrospection, another word for coming back to life to the past after death. With such a powerful ability, how did he lose to the Demon King? Well, we gotta go back in time. How far, you asked? Precisely 100 years ago, a mystical tower emerged within the world, unleashing countless monsters, creating dungeons and portals, yet some humans are also granted the ability to be awakened, and these human elites are called the Hunters. Generation after generation of hunters perished, and yet new heroes rose, taking on the flag and marching forward, while firmly believing that one day good would triumph over evil. Fast forward, years later, a hero of almost unparalleled skill and astonishing luck emerged, reaching the final level of the Demon Tower. This hero, Lin Xiao, known as the strongest among humans and the beacon of hope for defeating the Demon King and saving humanity, there he was, making a stylish entrance while leading his team to the tower's last floor. He and his team were ready to end this saga. Turned out, the hero not only awakened a powerful talent, but also possessed a system. Moreover, with the assistance of the system and his death retrospection, this was his third return, however. This was the first time he reached this far. To ensure absolute success, he spent years acquiring the world's most powerful weapons, equipment, and items, honing his attributes and skills to their utmost highest level, gathering the top S-ranked companions ready to conquer the Demon Tower. Standing at the entrance of the final floor, he opened his personal information interface for a final check. The system had once hinted that conquering the last level of the Demon Tower would put an end to it all. He reflected on the years spent with the system's guidance and support, which had shaped him into who he was today. Unfortunately, the system lacked information about the creatures on the highest level of the tower, aka the Demon King. In the spacious but empty room, only his team of 5 remained. Seeing the leader once again zoning out, from the look of everyone, clearly, this wasn't his first time. His teammates quietly joked and speculated about their leader's thoughts, with one jokingly suggesting he was probably thinking about a certain girl. Turning around, the hero struck what he thought was a cool pose, and said he was actually pondering what to do after defeating the Demon King, though his comrades clearly didn't believe him. See their reactions, the hero didn't mind, because in fact, only he could see the system interface. So whenever he checked it, others mistook his concentration for daydreaming, and so he had to invent excuses. Taking a deep breath, they pushed open the giant door to the final room. The group moved forward through the vast, empty hall, devoid of any monsters. A female teammate, eyeing the blue crystals scattered around, thought about collecting some as keepsakes to make jewelry after defeating the Demon King. The echoing footsteps of the 5 companions were the only sounds in the spacious hall. Far from being fearful of the impending confrontation with the Demon King, they were curious about what he looked like. Contrary to the dark and terrifying lower levels, this place was bright, clean, and luxuriously adorned. Perhaps, as some mused, the angels' appearances are terrifying to repel evil, while the beauty of devils is a lure to relax the wary adventurers. The leader, turning to his team, cautioned them not to be deceived by the deceptive serenity, although his relaxed smile suggested confidence. This was his third return, but his first time reaching this level, and everything about the top floor and the Demon King was still unknown. But he has tricks up his sleeves, and was not concerned if things went downhill. His teammates credited their survival and progress to his expertise, joking that he seemed to have faced the lower-level monsters countless times, because their leader could always pinpoint the monster's weaknesses and skills. There should be no different facing the Demon King. For them, victory seemed close at hand, with the hopes of humanity resting on them. The previously cheerful girl playfully skipped ahead of the group, her youthful innocence tinged with shyness. She believed wholeheartedly in their victory with the hero's leadership, and maybe after everything was over, she and her beloved leader might find solace and a new beginning amidst the serene embrace of the forest. But just as he was about to respond, a horrific event unfolded. In a shocking moment, A line appeared between the smiling girl's neck. Her head then spun 360 degrees in the air, and her body collapsed on the ground. Before they could react, footsteps approached from behind. The hero on guard already raised his weapon as the newcomer, wearing a disdainful smile, casually walked past him, greeting him as though nothing had happened. Feeling an overwhelming pressure like never before, the hero's muscles tensed, his back drenched in sweat. He couldn't believe the enemy had gotten so close undetected. Swinging his sword, he attacked. But to the Demon King, it was as feeble as a child's effort. With a mere snap of his fingers, the Demon King effortlessly blocked the strike. The Demon King chuckled, remarking on the quality of the sword but lamenting its fragility. In the next instant, the hero's weapon, known as the strongest sword known to mankind, snapped into two pieces with just a flick of the Demon King's finger. Appearing suddenly behind the hero, the Demon King curiously inquired what was on his mind. Before the hero could respond, a gentle punch sent him flying dozens of meters, crashing violently against a wall. Motionless, sitting on the ground, the hero couldn't believe what just happened. Severely injured, he could feel as if his internal organs were shattered, coughing up copious amounts of blood that stained the wall red. In disbelief, he finally recognized the man before him was no other than the Demon King. He couldn't comprehend how a demonic being could have a human form. Unbeknownst to him, the Demon King was the personification of humanity's fear of the unknown, born from the dark side of human nature, naturally taking on a human shape. The hero then activated his highest level skill, Eye of Truth, only to see that the Demon King's health bar hadn't decreased in the slightest. His previous all-out attack had inflicted no damage. "Impossible!" he yelled out. What followed next was shocking. Upon close inspection, he was stunned to see locked health as the Demon King's passive ability, an unconditionally permanent feature. Even more daunting was the infinity symbol next to his mana. An invincible Demon King with infinite mana. The hero couldn't believe what he was seeing. Was the Demon King truly unbeatable? Was he invincible? What is going on? Suddenly, multiple red warning notifications appeared before his eyes, the system's alerts, signaling that he was facing an extremely dangerous enemy. The disparity in strength between the two was vast, with the system calculating the hero's chances of victory as infinitesimally close to zero. It desperately tried to devise the best escape plan. Everything was so shocking to him that the hero had forgotten his physical pain, engulfed by the surreal reality. An invincible Demon King, system alerts indicating no chance of victory. What should he do? He struggled to calm himself, but the surge of adrenaline made it impossible to think clearly. At that moment, the Demon King reached out with his left hand, grasping the system alert box before the hero's eyes, and with a simple twist of his fingers, the system was crushed to pieces. With a smile, the Demon King remarked that he might have just discovered something fascinating. Was it this thing that had guided the hero to those unparalleled weapons and items? Whatever it was, the hero no longer had it. The hero, stunned, shouted, asking how the Demon King could see his system. The Demon King hadn't actually seen the system, nor did he offer much explanation, merely questioning if the hero had anything else up his sleeves. Not getting a response, his finger slowly extended toward the hero. The hero knew he was about to be killed, and he had no strength to resist. Although it wasn't his first death, this time was more terrifying than any before. He couldn't find the Demon King's weakness, nor a way to defeat him. Overcoming the Demon King seemed like an impossible task. As he closed his eyes, bracing for death, the hero hadn't given up hope. In his next return, he was determined to find a way to defeat the Demon King. But then, something unexpected happened. He felt his pain and injuries diminishing. Opening his eyes, he was astonished to see the Demon King casting a high-level healing spell on him, restoring all of his wounds. Confused, the hero asked why the Demon King would heal him. The hero could feel a warm sensation from the healing spell, as if he was embraced by nature, with a relentless flow of energy that seemed endless, far surpassing his own max-level healing spell. The hero repeated his question, asking why he was being healed. The Demon King smiled back, questioning if that the hero was a returner. It turned out that the Demon King had been observing him since he started conquering the tower's lower levels. The hero's familiarity with the lower-level monsters was unbelievable. It was almost as if the hero seemed to know everyone's weaknesses and skills, as if he had some kind of foresight. However, this knowledge did not extend to the Demon King. Initially, the Demon King thought the hero possessed the ability to foresee the future, but it clearly wasn't the case, because otherwise, the hero wouldn't ended up like this. Thus, he surmised that the hero must be a returner, and not just once, twice, thrice. It didn't matter because with each death, the hero would return to the past and start over until he could defeat the Demon King. Maybe it will take him hundreds, maybe thousands of times, but the hero will eventually succeed. Watching the hero's expression, the Demon King laughed loudly, realizing he had guessed correctly. The hero was brave and strong, but was still too naive, and wasn't calm enough. Nonetheless, the Demon King had no plan to kill the hero, rather had a different idea. With a snap of his fingers, a terrifying demonic power enveloped the hero's body. The armor he wore, the strongest and most unbreakable in the world, was no match for the Demon King. Why? These were the hero's final thoughts as his body began to contort in unbearable pain. The Demon King told him that the healing spell would continuously be healing him, ensuring he would never die, and his armor would become his eternal prison, from which he could never escape. Just like that, the world's strongest armor began to dissolve, and the hero's body convulsed and twisted. With a hoarse voice, he uttered one last, "Why?" before, with a loud bang, he was transformed by the Demon King into a throne. As the magic dispersed, the Demon King slowly sat down on the throne. Normally, the protagonist always has the plot armor being the main character, and the hero defeating the Demon King is the expected course of a story. However, this wasn't the case this time. The spacious hall returned to tranquility. On the high dais, the Demon King looked at the four bodies scattered on the ground, with their heads decapitated from their body. From far away, one could still see their eyes filled with reluctance and fear. Perhaps all of them had once believed they were the protagonist, but how could one know who the true protagonist was? The four bodies gradually crystallize, shortly after transforming into four large crystals, adding even more brightness to the hall. As for who the real protagonist was, no one could answer because, throughout history, only the ultimate victor can be called the protagonist. There he was, the Demon King, sitting on the throne, proclaiming he was the invincible final boss. From then on, with the fall of the heroic protagonist, the Demon King took over as the new central character of the story. The news of the hero and his team's demise was broadcast on television. The news anchor, usually known for his professionalism and composure, struggled to maintain control. Tears welled up in his eyes and slowly trailed down his cheeks. With a choked and hoarse voice, he sadly announced that the hero and his team had sacrificed themselves at the very top of the Demon Tower. Gripping the microphone tightly, a sense of loss pervaded humanity, as they had been just a step away from victory. Despite the demise of the strongest human hero, the Awakening Hunter Association expressed their condolences, urging mankind not to give up and calling for the elite to continue challenging the Demon Tower, to stop the onslaught of monsters and defeat the Demon King. A few weeks passed, and a new generation of awakening hunters held on to the belief that good would eventually triumph over evil. But when would that final victory come? How many more sacrifices would be needed? The news of the hero's death eventually subsided, and life for humanity returned to normal. Hunters working in the front line tirelessly conquered dungeons that appeared around the world. Today, two awakeners slowly approached the entrance to a newly emerged, hidden S-ranked dungeon. These dungeons, appearing globally, served as entrances to the Demon Tower, with monsters continuously pouring into them, and ultimately into the cities. Therefore, only a few elite hunters ventured to conquer the Demon Tower, while most focused on locating and breaking into dungeons to protect the safety of the cities. Today, two young awakeners approached the entrance of this S-ranked dungeon. They exchanged glances, then stepped into the dungeon together. The girl asked her companion, Bai Ching Feng, whether the final S-ranked monsters in this dungeon truly dropped the blood spike. The man standing beside her was a prodigy, also a new generation awakener, and yet to register as a hunter. Nonetheless, he was highly regarded by the Hunter Association. He had learned that the blood spike, an artifact from this dungeon, was an item potent enough to shake the Demon King. The blood spike was a rule-based item, its rule being that each attack would always inflict at least 1 point of damage to its foe. He firmly believed that with more such items, good would ultimately defeat evil one day. He felt a twinge of disappointment at the girl's lack of resolute conviction, but she quickly apologized and expressed her firm belief that her beloved Qing Feng brother, who is still young, would surely surpass the previous generation's hero in just a few years. Her confidence seemed to improve his mood. To the girl, it seemed that as long as her Qing Feng brother was there, everything would turn out fine. However, when they finally reached the S-rank boss, they discovered that someone had already defeated it. To their surprise, the person appeared to be a young man sitting atop the boss's corpse. Unbeknownst to Bai Qing Feng, this person was not a human hunter, but the Demon King from the highest floor of the Demon Tower. Anticipating that some clever humans would seek and use these rule-based items against him, he had preemptively commanded the dungeon's monsters to hand over the blood spike. But sometimes these creatures don't listen, and he needs to take it the hard way. Bai Qing Feng, unaware that he was addressing the Demon King, arrogantly extended his hand, praising the young man for his accomplishment, and demanded that the blood spike be handed over to him. The praises he got from the association, and all around the world, and his pride made him see himself as the savior of humanity, believing that this rare artifact would only be effective in his hands. The words might have made sense to other human awakeners and hunters, but Bai Qing Feng failed to realize that the man in front of him was not a human, but the Demon King. The Demon King couldn't help but smile at the man's audacity, attempting to take something from him without even knowing who he was. However, the newly renowned prodigy remained unfazed, for in his eyes, he was the future of humanity, and everything he did was for the sake of defeating the Demon King and upholding justice. Seeing the arrogant kid, the Demon King decided to teach him a lesson. Without a second thought, the Demon King activated the blood spike, unleashing several streams of crimson energy. Bai Qing Feng was caught off guard, not expecting the opponent to activate such a precious item, let alone attack him. He quickly sensed the danger and pulled out an item. A cubic structure then. A crystal cube appeared beside him. This was no other than the crystal cube, a rule-based artifact providing absolute defense. But soon, Bai Qing Feng sensed something was amiss. The opponent possessed demonic power, and such immense power at that, clearly indicating he was not human. Could it be? Before he could finish the thought, he looked up in horror. He realized too late that the artifact was designed for single-person use, leaving the girl who had accompanied him vulnerable. At that moment, the Demon King had already seized the girl, gripping his hand around her neck. The Demon King had already recognized Qing Feng as the new generation of mysterious prodigies, touted as the most promising candidate for the next generation's hero. The Demon King presented the duo with a choice: destroy the crystal cube in his possession, and both he and the girl would be allowed to leave unharmed. Known for keeping his promises, the Demon King hadn't even finished speaking when Bai Qing Feng's laughter echoed from afar. He found the offer ludicrous, even laughable. He couldn't possibly trust the Demon King's word, nor could he consider fleeing the battle. Regarding the girl, he loudly proclaimed that her sacrifice would be for the greater good, and that he would erect a statue in her memory. With that, he clenched his fists and lunged at the Demon King with a powerful punch. The Demon King was somewhat surprised, realizing that Bai Qing Feng was not inclined to save his companion, but the punch missed, easily dodged by the Demon King. Shaking his head, he noted how Bai Qing Feng didn't hesitate for even half a second before attacking, clearly indifferent to the girl's fate. The Demon King mockingly laughed, admitting his own understanding of human nature was still lacking. The girl was at a loss, probably never imagining that her childhood friend, whom she had admired for so long, could be so callous towards her. Bai Qing Feng argued that the burden of power was always a lonely one, and the sacrifice of those close to the hero seemed inevitable. He even shifted the blame onto the Demon King. With that being said, the Demon King then released the girl, remarking with a smile that perhaps not everyone thought the same way. Tears of frustration streamed down the girl's face. She had accompanied and followed Bai Qing Feng for many years, growing and fighting together, yet he was so cold and heartless. Despite this, she harbored no regrets. She yelled at Bai Qing Feng, urging him not to worry about her and to use the crystal cube to escape. Hearing the girl's words, Bai Qing Feng thought she was mocking him. Feeling his pride wounded, he couldn't fathom fleeing from the Demon King, for he was the pride of humanity, its rising star, the future hero. Drawing his sword slowly, he was filled with a resolve to win for humanity, for the future, for the world, and for himself. The girl seemed to have an epiphany, her resentment fading. Wasn't his sense of justice that had drawn her to follow her Qing Feng brother in the first place? Before the young prodigy could finish, the Demon King burst into uncontrollable laughter, as if he'd heard the funniest joke in the world. Seeing Bai Qingfeng not attempting to escape, the Demon King didn't hold back. He had his fun, and it's time to put an end to it. He raised his left hand, and a powerful vortex of demon energy engulfed Bai Qingfeng. The ground beneath him cracked open, and he fell uncontrollably into the abyss, his sword slipping from his grasp. He couldn't believe he had been defeated so easily. Looking up, he saw the Demon King waving goodbye, mockingly suggesting he drink some lava if he got hungry, befitting a hero prepared for sacrifice. Humanity would remember him. Realizing his impending doom, his demeanor changed drastically. He screamed that he didn't want to die, begging the Demon King for mercy as he sank deeper, his voice fading into obscurity. The Demon King, uninterested, turned and walked away. The girl, on her knees, wept, unsure whether it was from witnessing her admired one's demise or thinking she was next to die. But then she noticed a portal appearing behind her. The Demon King had ignored her. As he walked through the portal, endless staircases awaited on the other side. The girl didn't understand. Wasn't the Demon King going to kill her too? His voice echoed from the portal, reminding her of his promise. If the crystal cube was destroyed, both could leave. He always kept his word. With a smile, he told the girl that she could leave. He glanced back at her, saying they'd meet again, and then maybe he'd kill her. As the girl looked on in disbelief, the portal closed. Unbeknownst to anyone, on the other side, it connected to a corner of the city. Stepping out, the Demon King blended into the crowd in human attire, masquerading as one of them. The Demon King's next destination was the headquarters of the Human Awakening Hunter Association. At dusk, he arrived at the front desk, where two charming receptionists blushed at his sight, but maintained their professionalism, asking if he wished to join the association. Another girl, also smitten by his appearance, eagerly explained the benefits of joining their association and welcomed strong awakeners to their ranks. They then asked for his name and level. He smiled innocently and claimed to be Bai Qingfeng. Perhaps they had heard his name before. Introducing himself as someone who had recently stepped out from the mountains, following that he expressed his pleasure at joining the association. Meanwhile, at the association's headquarters, a grand hall with 7 seats for the elders existed. 6 cloaked figures occupied 6 of the seats. One of the elders lamented that only 6 of the 7 great elders remained. The first seat was originally for Lin Xiao, the previous generation's hero, a returner with the powerful ability to turn back time, who had now failed in his challenge against the Demon Tower. An emergency meeting was underway. A middle-aged member reported that the Demon King, as long as he remained within the tower, benefited from unconditional health locking and infinite mana. They agreed that sending more elite human hunters to their deaths was futile and needed a change of strategy. Their first plan was to prohibit all humans from challenging the Demon Tower and to search for an artifact capable of sealing the tower permanently, to end the scourge of monsters and dungeons and restore peace to humanity. One of the female elders spoke up, revealing that she had already summoned a chosen one from another dimension who would become the new hero. This new hero was summoned from a world where they called Earth. His identity and mission were kept secret, even from himself, as saving alternate worlds was often the destiny of such travelers. The attractive female elder had transferred his soul into Lin Feng, who was the previous hero Lin Xiao's younger brother. Now, he was already leading his team into dungeons, searching for an artifact to seal the Demon Tower. At the meeting, another half-bald elder, sipping his drink, mentioned that he had divined Lin Feng's future. The prediction indicated that Lin Feng would soon find the artifact to seal the Demon Tower. The old man appeared somewhat lecherous, his eyes lingering on the female elder's chest as he spoke about the imminent sealing of the Demon Tower. It was unclear whether his smile was due to the prospect of sealing the tower or the large pair of boing before him. As the meeting concluded, the elders, escorted by staff, returned to their respective rooms. One staff member, a young receptionist, was thrilled to hear about Lin Feng's potential success, hopeful for humanity's safety. The old man, eyeing her youthful face and attractive figure, had a mischievous thought. He leaned in and posed a question. What if the Demon King wasn't in the tower when it was sealed, but in the human cities instead? Wouldn't the sealing be futile? The girl was startled, clearly having never considered this possibility. Of course, the elder was just trying to scare her and took the opportunity to squeeze her backside. After all, why would the Demon King ever leave the tower? Savoring the sensation on his hand, The elder continued walking. The young receptionist, slightly indignant but not angry, understood the elder's nature. The elder chuckled, reasoning that even if the Demon King left the tower, without the tower's rules to empower him, how could he stand against all the human hunters? If his identity were exposed, he would be quickly besieged and defeated by humanity. End of the day, it didn't matter whether the Demon King was permanently sealed in the tower or besieged and killed in the human world. As long as Lin Feng found the artifact to seal the Demon Tower, their victory was assured. The elder's divinations had never been wrong, and the hero from another world was destined to save humanity. Reflecting on the handsome awakener she had met earlier, the young staff member had no plans to spend the night with the lecherous elder, promptly excusing herself. The elder wasn't bothered, but as he opened his room door, he found an unfamiliar man sitting inside. He immediately asked who the visitor was and why he was in his room. The man looked up, introducing himself as Bai Qingfeng, a new association member. The elder relaxed, recognizing the name that had become well known, even to someone as high-ranking as one of the 7 elders. The Demon King, in his human guise, stood up and bowed respectfully to the elder, humbly stating that it would be an honor to contribute to the eradication of the Demon King. The elder laughed, pleased, finding his gaze on the youngster much more favorable, having thought that all such talented prodigies were arrogant. The Demon King had heard that among the 7 elders, this elder was the only one who could predict the future. His visit today was to seek a prophecy about the future of the Demon King. Sitting comfortably in his chair, the elder sighed upon hearing the request. He explained that young people often oversimplified the task of defeating the Demon King. If he could foresee the Demon King's future, then instead of Lin Xiao, it would be him who would be hailed as the light of humanity. Moreover, his divination required physical contact with the subject on a full moon. Lost in thoughts about Lin Feng finding the artifact to seal the Demon Tower, the elder was unaware of the imminent danger, as the Demon King, posing as Bai Qingfeng, extended his hand, reminding him that tonight was indeed a full moon. The elder reiterated that he must touch the actual person involved in the prophecy, and laughingly said that it was impossible for him to meet the Demon King in person, since he had no combat abilities and had never entered the Demon Tower. But then, the Demon King quickly grasped the elder's neck. The elder's eyes shot open, realizing that the man in front of him was not the real Bai Qingfeng. As he began to sweat profusely, the horrifying truth dawned on him. He was in the presence of the actual Demon King. Using his powers, the Demon King forced the elder to perform the divination. The elder saw a vision where the Demon King would be killed by a human's sword through his heart in the season when the first snowflakes fell. Meanwhile, the Demon King used a mind-reading ability to steal the future seen by the elder. Smiling, he then lifted the elder from his chair with one hand. To the Demon King, the elder had now served his purpose. However, the elder pleaded for his life, offering to serve the Demon King. However, the Demon King, with a smirk, asked the elder to predict whether he would be killed that very night. Meanwhile, in a different world, we were introduced to a young man wearing Beats headphones and reading a novel. This was no other than Lin Feng, who had recently become a devoted fan of isekai novels. Soon, he stumbled upon another novel that strikingly resembled the one he was fond of, and was instantly hooked. No matter where he was, he always found time to immerse himself in this story. It was a simple tale of an ordinary person, despised by everyone as the weakest hunter, who suddenly gained the assistance of a cheat-like system, gradually becoming the strongest hunter and eventually defeating the Demon King on a snowy day. Like any other day, after finishing work, Lin Feng was listening to music while reading the novel. As a typical corporate worker on Earth, his life was exhausting, and reading novels was his sole joy. On this particular day, however, everything changed. As he was crossing the road, our beloved truck Kun, out of nowhere, sped towards him at an alarming speed. Well, I think we all know where this was going. Time seemed to slow down as he sensed the impending danger but found no escape. The moment the truck hit him, the intense impact and noise abruptly gave way to an eerie silence and a sense of void. The novel he was reading slipped from his hands. Was he going to die? This was his last thought. The next thing he knew, he had been transported to another world. In the next moment, he found himself in a completely unfamiliar and bizarre world, radically different from Earth. He realized he had not only survived, but had been mysteriously isekai'd to this alternate world. And this strange world was no other than the novel he was reading, and he also became one of the characters in it. In this new world, Lin Feng found himself in the role of the Lin family's second son, Lin Feng, known as a degenerate, villainous character constantly overshadowed by his illustrious brother, Lin Xiao, the light of humanity. Reflecting on this, Lin Feng burst into laughter, realizing that everything was about to change because he soon will take over as the main character. Familiar with the plot of the novel and armed with an omniscient perspective, he knew the locations of the strongest weapons, equipment, items, and even the map to the artifact that could seal the Demon Tower. He immediately charged into his father's study, the current patriarch of the Lin family, pleading for a powerful team to conquer dungeons. Perhaps seeing the shadow of his deceased eldest son in Lin Feng, his father agreed. Thus, Lin Feng quickly located the map to the sealing artifact. With his brother gone and the story's true protagonist yet to emerge, Lin Feng, armed with the map, led his team to the association's headquarters. As a reincarnator, he was determined to become the hero of this world. Turning to his stunning fiancée, Lin Feng confidently assured her of his success in acquiring the sealing artifact. However, she didn't seem to get along with him very well, merely snorting in response. Perhaps she was forced to join his team out of necessity. Lin Feng smiled, admiring Li Ya's impressive body and elegant yet aloof demeanor, resembling a distant and untouchable ice sculpture. Despite her coldness, she was his fiancée. Then shifting his gaze, looking at the redhead girl they had met along the way, he envisioned a perfect life in a harem surrounded by beauty after saving the world. The red-haired girl was someone Lin Feng met along the way, and from the novel, he knew she was the only person that the Demon King had ever released. Lin Feng approached her, reassuringly patting her head, telling her there was no need to fear anymore in the safety of the association's headquarters. Since Bai Qingfeng's death, she had been in a daze, finding solace only upon meeting Lin Feng. He mused that it was comfortable to be around such a naive, love-struck girl. Indeed, the life of a reincarnator was extraordinary, so he thought. Lin Feng delegated the immediate tasks to his team members, preparing to seek out the Divinity Elder for a conversation. To him, becoming the hero who seals the Demon Tower would grant him any woman he desired. After Lin Feng left, the team members approached the front desk. Li Ya wanted to officially enlist the redhead girl into the association. She introduced the girl as Li Tian Tian, whom they had rescued in a dungeon. Most importantly, she was the only person to have encountered the Demon King and survived. Hearing this, the receptionist was startled. Li Tiantian added that she was a follower of Bai Qingfeng. Where two of them had encountered the Demon King in a dungeon, however, Bai Qingfeng was killed, leaving her as the sole survivor before she met Lin Feng and Li Ya's team. The receptionist was again shocked upon hearing this, as Bai Qingfeng had just joined the association and was very much alive, who was just visiting the Divinity Elder. Everyone paused in confusion. Bai Qingfeng was still alive. In the Divinity Elder's room, the Demon King had revealed his true form, gripping the Elder's throat tightly. The Elder's face quickly turned purple, his eyes reflecting fear and agony. He struggled for breath, his hands vainly trying to pry the Demon King's grasp from his neck. His eyes widened in panic, and his mouth open, in an attempt to scream for help, could only produce faint sounds. It was barely audible, but could be heard, as he was pleading for the Demon King not to kill him. The Demon King, with a smirk, asked the Elder if he had foreseen his own end that night. The Elder, using all his strength, begged for mercy, offering to serve the Demon King in any capacity. However, the Demon King found this boring, disappointed that the human could only repeat the same plea. It wasn't until Lin Xiao's arrival at the final floor of the tower, the Demon King had never encountered any humans, and had imagined all of them to be brave, just, and strong like Lin Xiao. Shaking his head in disillusionment, the Demon King realized that he still didn't understand human nature or his enemies. Seeing individuals like Bai Qingfeng and the Elder, whose resolve faltered and even turned towards their enemy when facing death, significantly lessened his concern. To thank the Elder for his revelation, the Demon King decided to grant him a swift end. A crisp sound of breaking bone echoed as the Elder's head limply tilted to one side, his body collapsing uncontrollably. His facial expression froze for a moment, marked by terror and pain. The Demon King, after leaving the Elder's lifeless body slumped in the chair, slowly walked out of the room. Once again assuming his human disguise, He was faced with two choices: return to the Demon Tower and risk being forever sealed by Lin Feng, or attempt to stop Lin Feng, potentially fulfilling the prophecy of being killed by a hero from the future. Caught in this dilemma, he sighed. Leaving the tower seemed too risky. Having achieved his immediate goal and obtained the prophecy, he decided to return to the tower to contemplate his next move. Just as he was about to leave discreetly through the back door, he was startled by a hand on his shoulder. It was Lin Feng, and the Demon King was taken aback, losing most of his power in his human form, causing him not to have sensed Lin Feng's approach. Lin Feng, seeing an unfamiliar face, asked what he was doing lurking around. The Demon King, trying to maintain composure, claimed he was a newly registered hunter. Lin Feng, glancing at his badge and noticing the S-rank ranking, immediately let down his guard. Impressed by encountering such a high-level hunter, Lin Feng boldly invited him to join his team, proudly mentioning their imminent quest to retrieve the artifact to seal the Demon Tower. An artifact to seal the tower? The Demon King appraised the young man, introducing himself as Lin Feng, who proudly proclaimed that his name would soon be renowned. Lin Feng earnestly invited the young man again to join his team. The Demon King chuckled at this and commented that he hated the Demon King the most, while internally contemplating the divinity's prophecy. With the addition of a S-rank new member, Lin Feng was visibly excited. He boasted about his luck in having a new powerful hunter join his team and promised to treat every member well. He even shared some of the team's secrets, revealing that he had recently rescued a beautiful girl, a partner of the prodigy Bai Qingfeng. He mentioned she was the only person to have seen the Demon King and survived, leading the Demon King to realize that Lin Feng was referring to the girl he had let go earlier today. As Lin Feng was about to introduce his team to the Demon King, the latter stopped walking and headed in a different direction. When Lin Feng asked where he was going, the Demon King made up an excuse about needing to attend to his pregnant sow at home for postnatal care, leaving Lin Feng perplexed. As he finished his explanation, Lin Feng's team approached them, with Li Tiantian at the forefront, waving happily at their leader. Lin Feng waved back enthusiastically and whispered to the Demon King that being surrounded by beautiful women could sometimes be exhausting, though his expression betrayed his enjoyment of the situation. As Li Tiantian approached the Demon King from behind, he braced himself for his identity to be exposed, his demonic power instinctively stirring within him, but he remained calm and greeted her with a smile. "Hello, Tiantian." To his relief, her response was unexpected. Tiantian hugged him joyfully, expressing her happiness that Bai Qingfeng had safely escaped from the Demon King. This revelation startled Lin Feng, who suddenly realized that the S-rank hunter who had just joined his team was supposedly Bai Qingfeng. However, according to his knowledge of the novel, Bai Qingfeng was already dead. How could this be? Before Lin Feng could react, Tiantian continued, expressing her concern for Bai Qingfeng since their last encounter, and her longing to see him again. The Demon King was also puzzled, unsure why Li Tiantian was helping him conceal his identity, especially since she knew he was not Bai Qingfeng, but rather the Demon King. Tiantian's expression remained unchanged as she spoke of the debt she owed him for sparing her life from that devil. She earnestly declared her intention to continue as his follower, admiring strength and believing in repaying her debts. It was only at the end of her speech that the Demon King realized she was addressing him in his true identity as the Demon King, and she was expressing her admiration and indebtedness to him. Amused, the Demon King thought it was the first time he had encountered a human actually willingly aligning with the demonic forces. He found the situation intriguing. Nodding along, he continued the conversation, assuring Tiantian that he, too, would not let her down. Hearing the term follower, Lin Feng couldn't hide his displeasure, annoyed at the thought of a girl from his team becoming someone else's follower. He even forgot to inquire further about Bai Qingfeng. Meanwhile, Li Ya, who had heard of this rumored prodigy, looked at Bai Qingfeng curiously. She introduced herself with a smile, pleased to meet him. Lin Feng's irritation grew, about to remind Li Ya that she was his fiancée. But before he could finish, she cut him off, eager to know what the Demon King was really like. Tiantian eagerly described the Demon King as a terrifying figure with a fierce face and sharp teeth, while he then added that he certainly didn't look like a good person. As the group laughed and talked, Lin Feng narrowed his eyes, growing increasingly displeased with Bai Qingfeng. He recalled the novel's plot, where Bai Qingfeng was supposed to have died early at the hands of the Demon King, even disregarding Tiantian's safety. Yet, Tian Tian didn't seem to harbor any resentment towards Bai Qingfeng. Was it possible that his actions had caused a butterfly effect? Regardless, he knew he needed to consult the divinity elder. However, at that moment, hurried footsteps approached, and a girl burst into the hall, her words jumbled in panic, exclaiming that the divinity elder had been murdered. The announcement to lock down the association and investigate everyone who had recently met the divinity elder sent shockwaves through the crowd. Lin Feng suddenly turned around, recalling those who had seen the elder recently. The Demon King also looked at Lin Feng, while smiling, later said that only he and the team leader had met with the elder. However, unlike Lin Feng's tense expression, the Demon King appeared relaxed and composed. Lin Feng first cursed out loud, claiming he didn't even get to see the elder. As Lin Feng began to explain, insisting that he had seen Bai Qingfeng acting suspiciously near the entrance, he suddenly realized the peculiarity of the situation. Pointing at him, he accused him of being the true culprit behind the elder's murder, declaring that he had always suspected something was off. Before he could reveal his belief that Bai Qingfeng should have been dead, Li Ya interrupted him. She stepped forward, grasping Lin Feng's hand, urging him to calm down and not to hastily accuse someone. This only fueled Lin Feng's pent-up anger. In a sudden outburst, he pushed Li Ya away without a care for her falling to the ground, insisting that everyone should not be fooled because the man in front of them couldn't possibly be Bai Qingfeng. He leaped up and threw a punch at the Demon King, demanding he reveal his true identity. The Demon King, with a mocking smile, easily sidestepped Lin Feng's punch and swiftly moved behind him. Placing a hand on Lin Feng's neck, he disdainfully remarked that Lin Feng, who couldn't even match Lin Xiao, had no right to speak to him in such a manner. A light slap sent a jarring vibration through Lin Feng's head and spine. Losing his balance, Lin Feng's face contorted with shock and pain as he collapsed to the ground. Struggling to stand, Lin Feng was swiftly kicked back to the ground, effectively subdued. He clenched his teeth in anger, glaring upwards. His teammates urged the two to stop fighting. Li Ya, helped up by Li Tiantian, looked at Lin Feng in disbelief, while Li Tiantian was excited, thinking that this was the strength of the person she had chosen to follow. The Demon King, standing over Lin Feng, asked if he was ready to calm down. He was baffled as to why Lin Feng was so convinced that he was not Bai Qingfeng. The Demon King began to mock Lin Feng, mentioning that he had heard of him as the lackluster, talentless brother of Lin Xiao. A pity to call himself a brother of someone titled the Light of Humanity. He said that Lin Feng was even more disappointing in person and didn't deserve to be Lin Xiao's brother. Lin Feng's face twisted with anger and humiliation. His eyes were wide with fury, as if his gaze could set the Demon King on fire. His lips were tightly pressed, and his face muscles taut with rage. His fists clenched tightly, and he thought bitterly about his reincarnation and rise to prominence. Li Ya approached, intending to apologize for Lin Feng's earlier behavior, pleading with Bai Qingfeng not to harm him. Despite the tension, she hoped the two would stop fighting. In the brief moment the Demon King's attention was diverted towards Li Ya, Lin Feng seized the opportunity. Using his S-rank weapon, the soul-slaying claw, he unleashed a powerful strike, breaking free from his constraints. The Demon King was surprised to see Lin Feng wielding such a weapon. Although ordinary S-rank hunters were no match for him, he had a list of human hunters that might pose a threat to him, but somehow, Lin Feng's name was not on it. Just then, a middle-aged man's low murmur demanded them to stop. Following that, he emitted a shockwave from his mouth, which immediately nullified Lin Feng's powers. Intrigued, the Demon King turned to see the source of this phenomenon, wondering if this was a rule-based ability. The man was the president of the association, and his ability created a field where all supernatural forces ceased to exist, including demonic powers. With a furrowed brow, the president admonished them, emphasizing that every member of the association was a valuable asset in the fight against demons and should not waste their time in internal conflicts. Seeing the arrival of the president, the Demon King was shocked to see such a powerful figure among the ranks of the human race. He could even sense that this president posed quite a bit of a threat to him. Outside the Demon Tower, without the benefits of health-locking unlimited mana and the ability to ignore all rules, he was merely equivalent to a top S-rank hunter. This realization made him acknowledge that he needed to be more cautious with his actions and words while in the human world. The Demon King was the first to approach the president, promising there would be no next time. Seeing his attitude and taking responsibility, the president's expression softened, and he nodded in acknowledgement. However, Lin Feng didn't feel he had done anything wrong. In fact, he found the president's sudden intervention quite disagreeable. He pointed at the president and demanded to know why he wasn't stopped when he was being attacked, but was immediately restrained when he fought back. Clenching his fists, he accused the president of favoritism, or of still seeing him as the useless person he once was. The Demon King, upon hearing this, began to question Lin Feng's true identity. Could this man, who lacked both intelligence and character, truly be the prodigy entrusted by the association to retrieve the artifact to seal him inside the demon tower? This got to be a joke, right? Despite Lin Feng's accusations and finger-pointing, the president remained calm, stating that he showed no favoritism and that his actions were always for the future of humanity. Hearing this, Lin Feng cursed under his breath, accusing the president of lying. He then stormed out, determined to find the sealing artifact alone. In his anger, he vowed to prove himself as the true savior of humanity, the chosen one destined to seal the demon tower. The president closed his eyes and sighed deeply, a gesture of helplessness. He then placed his hands on the shoulders of the Demon King, who was disguised as Bai Qingfeng. Contrary to his views on Lin Feng, the president held this young man in high regard. He was aware of Bai Qingfeng's profile and praised him highly, not just for his strength, but also for his character, humble, polite, calm, and composed. Hearing these praises coming from the president of the Hunter Association, the Demon King could only smile wryly at this, pondering why humans seemed to like him so much. The president then addressed what concerned everyone the most, which turned out the investigation into the divinity's death. Preliminary findings suggested the presence of demonic power at the scene, leading to suspicions that a demonic creature from the dungeons might have killed the elder. That being said, so far, they find no direct link to humans. However, a more definitive conclusion would require a thorough investigation. The president looked earnestly at the Demon King, urging him to join the pursuit of the artifact, emphasizing the urgency of the task and his hope that this young man would shoulder humanity's future alongside Lin Feng. The Demon King chuckled at the irony of being told by one of humanity's strongest to bear the future of mankind on his shoulders. After leaving, the president thought that having someone like Bai Qingfeng alongside Lin Feng was the best outcome. Li Ya, concerned about Lin Feng's state, decided to check on him. The Demon King then grabbed onto Li Ya's arm. He was eager to ask a few questions about Lin Feng's recent behavioral changes. However, he then felt he might have overstepped, worried that his sudden interest in Lin Feng might raise suspicions. Realizing his impulsiveness, he quickly released her arm while rubbing the back of his head. Looking innocently, he explained that he was just concerned about Lin Feng, especially after their recent unpleasant altercation, and felt a bit apologetic. Li Ya, reassured by his explanation, thought to herself how a thoughtful man he was. She then dropped her guard and began to describe Lin Feng's dramatic change in behavior. It turned out that the Lin Feng she knew was previously a meek and incompetent person. However, a while back, he underwent a drastic personality shift upon waking up. He would often look into the mirror and utter nonsensical things about systems, golden fingers, novels, and weird phrases like isekai. Everyone initially thought Lin Feng was just disoriented from sleep. End of the day, it wasn't odd for him to say random stuff like this. As the day went by, Lin Feng began to exhibit an assertive personality. Moreover, he then formed his own party, where they were able to locate some of these top-tier items, equipment, and weapons, even discovering the map of the sealing artifact. It was as if overnight, Lin Feng had acquired the ability to predict the future. Hearing this, the Demon King pieced together the puzzle. No wonder Lin Feng was certain that he wasn't the real Bai Qingfeng. Alongside Lin Feng's behavior and newfound abilities seemed to align with someone who possessed knowledge of the future. If that's the case, then things might be a bit more problematic, especially with his potential knowledge of the Demon Tower and its secrets. Although Lin Feng's inherent strength wasn't particularly impressive, his access to S-rank weapons and artifacts had barely qualified him as an S-rank hunter. The elders of both families speculated that Lin Feng had experienced an epiphany, perhaps awakening some extraordinary talent overnight, but Lin Feng never disclosed the specifics of his awakening. The Demon King, reflecting on Lin Feng's behavior and Li Ya's account, coupled with his own reluctance to share his secret even with his closest family and fiancé, indicated that this Lin Feng was probably not the original Lin Feng. The only plausible explanation was that the real Lin Feng had been replaced. He pondered for a moment. Could it be that the humans found out ways to summon people from a different world? Suddenly, the entire building began to shake violently. Strange noises were heard from outside, and an announcement over the loudspeaker informed them that an A-ranked demonic creature from the dungeon had breached the city. Lin Feng was the only one at the front line, attempting to hold off the creature. In the face of the A-ranked demonic creature, Corpse Hound, Lin Feng confidently draws his S-rank weapon, the blazing frost blade. He engages the beast in a fierce battle, clearly undaunted by an A-ranked demon. Proclaiming his disdain, he leaps into the air, launching numerous ice spikes from his weapon and pinning the creature to the ground. He then pulls out another S-rank weapon, the falling star sword, and roars that he, Lin Feng, is the true hero who protects everyone. All eyes should be on him. As his words echo, sword energies burst forth from his weapon. Lin Feng descends from above, ruthlessly slashing across the Corpse Hound's body. The creature lets out a painful howl. The onlookers praise Lin Feng, thrilled to see even an A-ranked demon overwhelmed by his might. Lin Feng revels in the spotlight among the crowd, but the Demon King, standing among them, lets out a smirk. He knows the true nature of the Corpse Hound, an A-ranked demon formed from the vengeful spirits of mistreated stray animals in the city, fused with the demonic aura of the Demon Tower. However, this creature is not well known, and most humans are unfamiliar with its capabilities. Unaware of the Corpse Hound's ability to enter a state of feigned death after sufficient damage, Lin Feng continues to strike the seemingly motionless creature. Just then, the Corpse Hound lets out a final wail before collapsing motionless, appearing lifeless and breathless. The crowd cheers, oblivious to the impending danger. Unknown to them, the Corpse Hound is about to become even more powerful, potentially reaching beyond S-rank strength.